This podcast is part of the No Phony Podcast Network, the home of independent awesomeness.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Road with Jim and Casey. With me, as always, James Morganti.
Let's ride, boys.
Joining us today, Mike from Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. So tell us a little bit about what you do. What is Pennsylvania Predator Hunters?
Well, we expose online predators of children who try and meet kids from the internet in real life. So it's not people who just talk to minors online. It's people who try to meet up with them to have sex with.
Okay. What's your process of identifying people, setting up a sting? How you define, who defines as someone being inappropriate, right? That's like worth going after. Do you know what I mean? So like, obviously if it's a 27-year-old guy going after a 14-year-old girl, that's basically it. I mean, anyone under 18, but what's the process of like focusing in on a guy and being that's the guy? What is that how's that work?
Well, our decoys, they set up profiles on various apps, mostly phone-based, but also, computer-based. They'll just set up a profile, and it'll just sit there. The guy will reach out. All of our decoys are always 14 or 15 years old. Well, sometimes 13, but always under 16, because in Pennsylvania, where I'm at, 16 is the age of consent. So a 28-year-old trying to meet a 16-year-old is completely legal in Pennsylvania. So the bar that we set for an exposure is, well, first, our decoys never initiate contact. Our decoys never talk sexual or they never initiate or participate in any sexual talk whatsoever. And our decoys never ask to meet up. So we pretty much the predator will lead the conversation 100%. When it comes time to expose, the decoy will turn the logs in and we'll go over everything. And as long as the guy is clear that he wants, what his intent is to have sex with a kid, because we don't expose anyone just because they want to meet a kid. You know what I mean? Like where our bar is set, they have to actually say what they want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What real quick, while you're describing that, what kind of do these girls, first of all, what age do the girls look like to a normal guy that likes real women, adult women, curves, vivacious, all that, as myself? But what kind of like pictures? Is this a picture? I mean, obviously it's a picture of a girl, but does she look like, to a guy like me, I'd be like, whoa, that girl's like 11, or does it look like that you would be like, should I ask her, are you over 18 or 17 or whatever the age limit? So do you make them look obviously young, or are they like they look like they could be 18?
No, almost all the decoys, you can tell that they're, if anyone with a good judge of someone could tell that they would be under 18. And we also tell them directly in the beginning of the conversation, as early and often as possible, that they're 14 or 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they can't. Even if the guy can't judge, if he's a poor judge of age, he's still told directly, that they're 15 years old.
Now, is that I mean, I don't want this to come off wrong, but is that illegal to use a underage girl's picture for this purpose? Like, because like I know they could be like, well, you're not allowed to do, even though you're trying to catch a predator. Is that legal or illegal to use a person's picture without their, I guess, consent of their parents or something? Or
Yeah, well, at PPH we don't use any minors' pictures. And honestly, in my opinion, any parent who would allow anyone to use pictures of their kid for what we do, they should be looked into. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, after your kid, you're letting us put it. So no, our pictures are all of age women who look younger. Do you know what I mean? They're very young looking for their age. Or some of our decoys use pictures of themselves when they were younger. You know what I mean? So yeah, we never use any pictures of any actual kids as they are unless it's a decoy their own picture.
Now, and is this basically, do you basically get the older male demographic, or are there more? Like, I saw the one episode, the guy was like 25 or 27, I think. It was on the Instagram TV. Is that like the age range that you find most common that goes after, or is it like it could be 40, 50, or what's the most common age range?
The most it really runs the gamut, but we actually our minimum used to be 21. It used to be 21 to 24 is like try to stay away from them, but over 25 go for. But I wound up raising it to 24 or 25 being the minimum, because it seemed like there was a high concentration of young 20s, and I'm like, well, they're not. A predator is a predator, but in my opinion, somebody who just turned 21, it's not great to label someone like that. So we raised the bar, but I'd say probably early 30s would be probably our highest concentration, but that we will pursue. But again, it runs the gamut. I had one guy come out. He drove from Lancaster to the Coatesville area, and he was in his 80s. And as I was exposing him, he gets this little insulated like lunchbox out of his car, and we're standing there outside of the store, and on the like the windshield wiper display, fluid display outside, he sits it on there, and as I'm exposing him, he's checking his blood sugar. Like, this guy was in his 80s. You know what I mean?
Christ.
Wow.
Yeah. So it really does. It's all ages.
Now, are the police supportive of what you do, or are they like, you're a vigilante, okay, Batman, or are they? Do they? Do they show their support, or do they just kind of stay away?
I know a few police officers personally, and they support what I do, but on the record, they can't. They do view us as vigilantes, and we all try to avoid that term, because I don't feel like that. By definition, that's what we are if you look it up. But by social definition, it's not what we are, because we try and get the police involved, and we send the logs out to detectives after the exposure. We want them to follow up. If we were vigilantes, I wouldn't be recording it. It would be some people would just be getting beat up or something. You know what I mean?
You'd have like hats on, the caps down like this, the hoods up, and just that's. I gotcha. I mean, I don't have children. I don't know if you have children, but I could assume, you always hear about. A man has a dog, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could see it happening in real life, and he's like, and it like just activates something in our DNA that a normal alpha male, or as I said before in our last podcast, alpha and omega. You want to be like the whole gambit of male. You don't just want to be alpha or this, that, and the other. But like a normal one would, it activates your, doesn't need to prey on people, doesn't need to rule over people and find, oh, this girl's young and stupid. Oh yeah, she's not going to know anything. Because I know girlfriends, once they went in their 20s and 30s, are like, I was so stupid as a kid. And you know, they're not stupid, but I'm just saying, like, trying to take, like, just like use their guys using their charm and these sick people, and like it activates something in us that would want to just like protect people that don't know a bigger story of what's going to happen to them, because they might be naive and just be like, oh, you know.
Yeah, there's a primal instinct there. You know, like you said, whether you're a parent or not. That's what a lot of people say to me, like, how don't you kick these guys' asses and all this? And I'm like, well, I do have 3 kids. My daughters are early teens and my son is 5. But when I'm going to expose these guys, a lot of people, when they watch the video, they put themselves in as a parent in that situation. But
right,
it's not a real kid. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not defending anyone's honor here. I'm calling somebody out for thinking that they were going to have sex with a kid.
Right.
You know, so it does take a lot away, and a lot of, I would do this and I would do that. And honestly, when you're there, it's a lot different. You know,
when you so how many, you've been on a lot of these then? How many roughly have you been on?
we just did our 150th.
Wow.
Okay.
One was last week, I believe, and we started October 9, 2018. And
so when you, out of those 150, has anything ever like gone wrong? Like, did the person be like, you said their name and they're maybe like prepared for, this could be a fake or a person setting me up? Has anything ever happened where you felt maybe not threatened, but like you were like, okay, guy, and like you might have bros or security guard around you, and you're going to need them because they might have people watching for them too? That ever happened? Something go wrong or something?
well, we've had a few get a little physical. Never, just like 2 months ago, the guy swung on me and he missed, and then I hit him, and then he hit me in the back of the head, and then he kind of ran off. But never full on fisticuffs. Usually we catch them so off guard that they, you know, they don't know what to do. But we have had, and they're my favorite ones, when a guy says to the decoy, I feel like this is a setup and blah, 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 blah. And like the decoy will be like, what are you talking about? How am I going to be a cop? I'm 15. You know what I mean? Shit like that. And yeah, they're my favorite ones, when the guy knows it's a setup. And then when he shows up, I'm like, hey, gotta listen to your gut, buddy. Always go with your gut.
And they still come anyway.
Yeah, because they're, you know, the hormones
Yeah.
take over their brain, and they don't, and the brain's like, no, dude, it's a setup. And then their dick is just like, I don't give a fuck.
Wow. Now,
So, Mike, how did you get started with all this? Is this just a Pennsylvania thing that you started, or is this something bigger?
I was watching videos on Facebook one night, and I saw a team down in Tennessee, Dirty South Justice. I saw the guy Chad doing exposure, and once I saw that, I started watching around, and then I contacted a few teams, and then I joined. This was in August 2018, and I joined a team. Then I went to another team, and I was doing, you know, more behind the scenes administrative work, and I was, you know, networking and learning all the, you know, the do's and don'ts and everything, kind of like a self-training. And then October 9th, there was 5 of us on the old team. We decided to break off and start Pennsylvania Predator Hunters.
Nice.
do the like, do these people get arrested then, or like, do you like? Okay, so let's say you get a guy, and he wants to meet a girl for sex, and you obviously there, you got him, you know, you have him on film. He admits to on film, on video. I always say film, and I'm like, yeah, you taped him with the right. I'm like, okay, sorry, we got you now, and they all run in the car. Get him, Lou. So can you get can you give this information to the authorities and have this person arrested, or are they just, because it never happened, you just kind of scare them to expose their deep sins of just giving into their sins of the flesh?
Yeah, we always try and contact law enforcement after the exposure, and a lot of detectives are more than happy to take on our evidence, our chat logs and everything. And the last guy that we had arrested was about a month and a half ago. He was from New Jersey, and he got 3 charges based on the exposure. But the detective took his time. It took him months to dot every I, cross every T, because once he gives it to the prosecutor, that's where things usually stop. Like, the detectives are all about it, and they want these guys to go to jail because it's clear, you know,
Right.
what's going on. Once it gets to the prosecutor, that's usually when it hits a roadblock. But sometimes, depending on who the prosecutor is that's what it depends on, as far as will it be brought to charges in the court. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, just as like how many people have you gotten or helped, assisted in getting put away?
That is really hard to tell. We usually don't get follow-ups unless they need me in court, and they have to give me a subpoena or something, which I have been to court twice. But like the guy I was just talking about, the detective never got back to me as far as any charges that were brought. We had constant communication all through he was building the case up. And then like a month went by, and I'm like, hey, detective, blah, 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 you know, whatever happened. And then he's like, oh yeah, I meant to tell you, yeah, we got him for 3 charges and all this. We had about a year ago, last week was 1 year, we got the one guy who was very active in his kids' schooling and their sports and all that. And so the FBI got involved with that one, and we gave all the logs over. And they, again, once they got the logs and they went over them, they did say, all right, everything looks great, you know, all that. Someone else reached out to us, not the agent, and said, oh, hey, just so you know, they just kicked this guy's door down the other day, to, you know, they were serving a warrant on him. So to answer your question, I have no idea. I wish I could answer it, because I know that, well, look, worst case scenario, even if a case isn't picked up, they're exposed to their community and, you know, their family, their friends, their neighbors, everything, right? That's scenario. Best case scenario, they get charges, or the FBI kicks it down their door. You know what I mean? And honestly, I'm happy with either one. I'd prefer, you know, obviously, to have charges, but you know, it is what it is. Our system's so jacked up.
Do you, like, okay, so you've been doing this for a while now, you know, over 150 times. Do you, when you're out in public, you're at the mall or something, do you like have your eye trained now that like you can just see a beta male? I mean, according to what I was reading, typically a beta like these weakened males that never got dates, that are incels, they were never, you know, they never understood how to stand up like a man and just go up to a girl, and if they want to ask her out, they would say yes or no, and you get shot down, and you just keep going. Do you notice like they're usually like weak and fall in and like kind of like just beta. Oh, not beta, but like not that it's bad to be beta. I'm not, but like, did you train your eye to see the one? Oh, there he is with the sweater vest and the purple glasses and the purple colored socks, and he has a mustache on, and and he has a a trendy little bracelet or something. And did you do that or?
Yeah, honestly, no. It's easy to pick out a beta in the crowd. You can tell a weak individual when you see one. But out of the 150, there is no archetype for a predator. You know what I mean? They're not all betas. They are mostly, but they're low income people, high income people. You know what I mean? They're all races, all ages, all nationalities, all personality types. So it's better just to assume that everyone is a bad person.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, yeah, and just take care of yourself and your family.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
So, Mike, this is you're called Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. Do you cover the whole state? Like, how does that work? Let's say someone from Pittsburgh is looking to, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Well, we've had guys come from all over the place.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you kind of stay centrally located as to where you are and make them come to you?
Yeah, pretty much. We've got decoys stationed all, within reasonable driving distance of where I'm at. So yeah, we're Pennsylvania Predator Hunters, but we're based in Chester County. Because a lot of these guys don't show up. So if I had a decoy in, say, Reading, right, I would have to drive all the way to Reading, about an hour, just turn around and drive all the way back home for nothing. So we do try to keep them. They're spread out all across the area. There are other teams in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
okay. But I'm not sure how they operate, where their bar is set. Because after we turn stuff over, if a case isn't picked up, I'll ask why it wasn't. You know what I mean? Try and get feedback, and then our bar raises. It only gets higher and higher for exposure. There are other teams who, and I'm not knocking anyone, but there are teams who will expose someone with zero sexual talk. They'll send risque pictures to the guy. They'll, just the complete opposite of what we do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't remember what the question was, but
oh, you answered it. How many, like, when you go out to do this, do you go by yourself, or do you have a team of people that go with you? Like Jim was saying, do you have big guys like backup?
We have about 12 or 13 guys who play the role of hunter, like security, backup, whatever you want to call it. But everyone has their own lives. They have their own families. They have jobs and all this. So sometimes I'll put the call out to the hunters, and sometimes nobody can come out at all. Other times there's like 8 people. And it's like, dude, this is a little overkill. But if I say no, then it'll be like, well, I can't turn them down.
Right.
It's all here. So it's like, all right, I want to encourage them to come out. So, but yeah, there's a good amount, and I'd say it's about 50-50 on times I'm by myself versus, when I have someone with me.
So when you're out, I think one of them, it looked like were you at the Exton Mall? Yeah. So if there's a lot of people around you, obviously you're yelling at this individual, at this just pile of garbage, and you want to call him just a sack of crap. You anti-American, get your ass out. Are the people around you? Are they kind of like looking at you like, what's going on here? And like, do they start to film then? And are they like, hey, thank you so much? Like have people seen it happen live? Like when they're getting their nails done, or they're buying something for one of their girlfriends or whatever. And do they come up to you and like shake your hand and be like, "Hey, I saw what you did, and it's awesome"?
Yeah, we at this point, I try and stay in my car until the guy gets out of his car, until I have eyes on him out of his car or whatever, because um, a lot of people recognize me from doing this, and our biggest following is from my immediate area. So a lot of people know what's going on. The people who don't know what's going on, I try and keep it a conversation. Obviously, if you see my videos, yeah, a lot of times it gets a little ramped up. We want to avoid that. We want a calm conversation. We don't want anyone answering questions under duress. But at the same time, sometimes they just piss me off, and I'm like, we go fuck yourself, dude. You know what I mean? And it gets a little escalated. And but yeah, the goal is to keep it calm. And we do a lot of times get bystanders who will stop and they'll record us, which is fine with me, because I always like that, because then I have another perspective if they send me the video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that happens often. People stop, and especially after the exposure, a lot of people will come up to me and stop me and shake my hand, and I'll have a talk with them and all that.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of your videos, and almost all of them, you can hear someone yell, "Get a mic" or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's a good feeling.
That's cool.
Have support. We put a lot of. There's 25 of us on Pennsylvania Predator Hunters that compromise the team, and so it's good to know that we have support from the community that we operate in. You know what I mean?
Are there any online like groups that don't like what you're like? Are they not don't like what you're doing, but kind of give you like slack or anything in any way? Would anyone be against what you're doing, or not against it, but you're lying to people online or something? And there's there are people that don't like that.
Yeah. Actually, there's an aggregator page called The Ultimate 30. Shout out to them. And they'll get everyone's exposures, and they'll post a burned copy of it on their page, which is great, because when we lose videos or Facebook takes them down, we always have we have our own archives at this point, but it's a good resource to have. But when I'll go through the comments on there, and because they aren't just Pennsylvania, they pull videos from all over the place. They get all these people on there, and there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, why don't you fucking just become a cop if you want to be a cop?" I'm like, I don't want to be a cop. I'm highlighting their deficiencies, idiot. There's majority of people support, but there's always that one guy who, the mom's basement type. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, go back to Reddit and troll, okay? Facebook.
Those are the guys you need to look into.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Going back to what you said at the mall, like, or anywhere really, I guess, like with things getting heated, I can totally understand how that would get you like so irate when you know exactly what that person said to this person, and they're blatantly lying to you and denying it. And
it's like, look, like most people, I hate a liar, right? I think most normal people, it's in their top 3 of traits that they hate about someone. So like when I call you out, of course you're going to deny it, right? But then when I always have the logs on my phone, a chat head from Facebook with all the logs in it, and I'll open it up. I'll show them. But when they deny it after that, that's when I start to get pissed off. It's like, look, dude, I got you dead to rights. You know what I mean? I got you. And then when they still lie, that's when usually I start to get, I try not to. I really do, because it's not good.
It's got to be hard, man. It's got to be.
It is. It definitely is. But for the most part, when we get someone, once they realize that they're caught, and I tell them, like, look, man, I ain't a cop. I just want to ask you a couple questions, and then everybody will be on their way. You know what I mean? and then usually they'll open up once they start to calm down from the initial shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Since you have, how many decoys did you say you have?
We have 8 right now, or 7.
8. Have you ever had any repeat offenders? Like, have you ever got the same guy twice on a different girl?
We had 3 guys that we got twice, and we had 2 of those 3 we almost had a third time. But after being caught up twice, it pisses me off when that happens, because it's like, I turn this stuff over and it's like, look, this guy's clearly, and
Right.
it is what it is. But so we've never got a third time, but we had 3 twice, and 2 of those 3 almost very close. Like, I was at the location, and so were they. They just didn't get out of their car or whatever. I wasn't able to expose them.
Wow.
Did you ever have a guy that you're exposing him, and at first he's trying to play it off, right? And then he just breaks down. No, I'm so sorry. My dad left me, and I wasn't trained on how to be a man properly. My mother doesn't love me. My uncle gave me a hand job, or something happened, and he's crying and just bawling to you his feelings of why he's a terrible person, and he's the victim now because something happened to him, and then now, well, does that happen a lot?
We've had quite a few of them cry, and normally the way I look at it, when they start to cry, it's like, you're not crying because you're caught, you're crying because you're trying to gain sympathy. And instead of having that emotion on the outside through tears, you should be internalizing that and processing it on the inside, what just happened. Because if you put that on the outside, all that's telling me is you want sympathy from me, and I have no sympathy for the devil at all. So you're wasting your tears. I'm just laughing at you. We had a guy in Pottstown in, I think it was about February. His name was Jeremy Reinhardt, and it was at the Walmart. And I get him walking to his car. Well, when we first came out of the Walmart, someone he knew was walking in. I'm like, and she was with her daughter, who seemed to be about, mid-teens. I'm like, oh, you know this guy? And then, so she's like, oh, I'm so disappointed. Once that happened, then he put on the fakest fucking cry I've ever seen in my life. Like, he wasn't even trying. Like, he's walking, he's like, it was absolutely, it was comical. And then
I remember that one.
Yeah, and
Watch that. He had a flower or something, right? He was just buying her dog food.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The decoy said that she had to get cat food or dog food, and she needed help carrying the bag. That's how the decoy got him out of the car. And so that's why he said, when I first approached him, he's like, oh, I'm getting dog food. Like, there is no dog and there is no kid, idiot.
Do you have what, like, is there something that you believe that would help less people? Because I'm assuming there's no women trying to meet up with young guys, right?
I mean, it happens, but usually we've had decoys take on all roles, in the LGBT community, as women, we tried every angle. It's most successful with adult men pursuing teenage girls, because just my personal feeling is, women who go after younger boys, it's usually a grooming situation. You know what I mean? It's usually like recently right here in Downingtown, there was a school resource officer, it was a female officer, who they found out was having sex with a male student. So it's usually, I feel like with females, when it happens, it's usually a Stacy's mom kind of situation. You know what I mean? I know when I was younger, I was with my friend's mom. I was 18 and she was in her 30s. And I was the man. for that. You know what I mean? I feel like it doesn't get reported because it's looked at a different way by
Like
society.
cops, like cops hear about it and they're like, oh, this happened. Nice. Is that, do they really do that? And then you like, I mean, it's not right. You know, it's all still, you know, we shouldn't, you know, be high-fiving each other because, you know, you're just a good-looking guy, and, you know, for some reason older women love certain things about I mean, like, hey, I love just anyone that's a real woman. That's all that I want. Voluptuous, you know, full-bodied real woman. Yeah, I forget my follow-up question to that, but oh, was it oh, I forget my, my question.
What do you think makes it different that it's like about like guys like there South Park, for instance, did an episode about I think like young boys hooking up with older women, and like they would like the kids were trying to tell their dads about it, and their dads were like,
Nice.
and
It is different, and that's just the way society is. I don't know. Like with when it's a girl or a woman, I feel like it's viewed different because they're being violated. Do you know what I mean?
yep.
If it's a younger boy or man, it's like it's like, oh, way to go. You know what I mean? Unless you were slipped Viagra or something like that. In my opinion, it's hard to, you know.
What is your like the do you have a message to say to people, or like what's something that you think from what you've seen, you know, you have more experience in this than most, what do you think is something that we as people could do, starting from the easiest spot, I mean, to raise better kids, you know what I mean? Like maybe stay married, you know, don't be in like broken homes or whatever. I mean, it could be anybody, even it could be people that have great homes, and you said it yourself, wealth or poor or whatever. But do you have something like a some sort of lesson to say, hey, if you don't want to raise this type of person, or to the person even that has these addictions that they can't deal with, do you have any like words for them, like to make them just like either put cut it off in their mind before it happens in their, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you have anything to say to these people that could possibly lessen this crime or whatever?
Well, that question is kind of both sides of the coin, right? So the first part of it, as far as the kids go, we preach to check your kids' devices and all that, but there's a million ways around everything. You could look on your kid's phone, and you know they can clear out histories. But my personal experience with my kids is I've always had a wide open door of communication in our household. And I don't know if it's because of that or because of what I do, but my kids, if somebody hits them up on an app that they're on, they'll come to me and tell me about it because they know, like, you're not in trouble. So I communication is before anything with your kids.
Right.
You're not their boss, but you're also not their friend. You know what I mean? And on the other side of it, what do I have to say to the people going after kids? Go fuck yourself, you fucking pervert. And you're lucky if you come across me, because if you come across a real kid and their parent shows up, there ain't going to be no cameras. They're going to kick your fucking ass. And if it's the cops, because the cops do what we do, if it's them, there ain't no conversation. You're going in fucking cuffs. So, and I hope you get everything coming to you.
So
I have no words of advice for predators, if that's what your question was.
No, not advice. More so like, I mean, I don't know if there's people like guys or women or I mean, it could be anybody that you're in a situation where you have these thoughts or whatever to do something, to commit such an abomination of a sin. And I'm thinking more so like to just put death to it in your mind, like you know how if your eye causes you to sin, you know, pull it out, or your hand or whatever, something to do for them for themselves, like to beat this horrific, terrible addiction. You know what I mean?
If you're looking at it from an addiction standpoint, if someone has this as an addiction, they should approach it the same way that anyone would approach any other addiction, whether it's, you know, smoking cigarettes or drinking or, you know, anything. Just find something else to do. Idle hands are the devil's playground. So if someone out there has these feelings, or it's an addiction, but they don't want to, I don't know, fucking collect stamps, or, you know, be one of those weirdos with a model train in your basement. You know what I mean?
So right. So your message.
Maybe go get some adult pussy. I don't know.
Oh, it's the best one. So your message to humanity. We always like to end the show on a message to humanity.
I have another question yet before we get started.
Oh.
Or before we get finished. So you don't do this full time, right? You have another job and everything, right? This is all just like you. It's all nonprofit, right?
Yeah, it's I do this full time. I have my side gigs that I do, but I don't have a 9 to 5 per se. My schedule's super flexible. And to do this, it really does take, like, not so much lately with the whole pandemic thing. We've kind of eased off. And if you see the frequency of our videos, there's huge gaps now compared to before. But normally it's an around the clock operation, and I'm able to do my side stuff on the side, and I'm really lucky that my wife is extremely supportive and she believes in doing this. But we don't make any money off of this. I sell decals and shit like that, but there's really no profit. You know, it's razor thin. Most things, actually, like the hats, I did a giveaway the other day. They cost me $40 a piece, and I did a giveaway. I gave away 2 of them. I was lucky one person lived not far from me. The other person I just shipped out yesterday, it cost me $15.05 to ship a hat. And I'm like, all right, so I ate that. That's $55 I just ate on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a horrible businessman. I really am.
Hey, well, you know, you got to do what you love too. And, you know, that open hands, man. You got to give to receive. It goes both ways.
I don't believe necessarily in karma, but I do believe in doing what you believe in. And if it helps people, that's all the better. If, you know, I try not to fuck anybody over. You know what I mean? Again, I don't believe in karma, but I'm pretty sure if you go around fucking people over, you're going to get fucked pretty hard yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you give and you'll receive for sure. But also, no good deed goes unpunished. And it rains on the just and the unjust alike. So either way, when you do something good, the moment you expect that you're going to get something for it, you're already lost, and that thing isn't going to come. And you got to do it almost like, hey, I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing this, and not because, I'm standing up. Oh, I'm a good guy. You know, watch me give because I'm great or whatever. That's the moment you already lost.
Almost like a martyr, where it's like, oh, look how much I'm doing for other people. You know what I mean? It's like, cut the shit. You're fake. You're phony. And people who do this, a lot of people who do this, they do it and they're posting their PayPals and Cash Apps and blah, 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 and all this. It's like, all right, you're doing it for money. Other people do it for clout. Other people do it for recognition. You know what I mean? But they don't realize how much actually goes into it. Once the camera goes off, it's not 5 minutes camera time, dude. It's, you know, afterwards, we're talking to families. We're talking to, you know, employers. We try and be there for the families because they're innocent. A lot of times they get drug into it. So we try and do, I'm not going to say counseling because we're not licensed at all, but sometimes people just need an ear. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot that goes into this that I know for a fact certain other teams have no idea what I'm talking about right now.
You mean like are you talking about like the families of the people that you expose?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times people, because the internet is filled with morons, they'll, call like the spouse, the wife, and harass the family, and you know what I mean? It's like, dude, she has nothing to do with this. It's not like she was there with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people will just target the family because they feel like, again, the internet's filled with terrible people. I hate them all.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we're allowed to hate, we're allowed to love here on our podcast. We just talk about everything. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's still legal to hate. It's legal to love. It's legal to be in the middle. You know what I mean? You can do what you want. Don't break the law. Don't get in front of people's. Don't infringe other people's God-given rights.
As long as you're over 18.
Oh yes, right. And so, what is your message to these anti-American pieces of satanic garbage? Obviously, it's satanic because ruling over innocent children is, as we all know, in the dark arts, it's one of the biggest ways to feel the spirit of the fallen one. That's why, whether they know it or not, it's where it came from. It is literal, the spirit of enslavement and control and just owning, and especially the more innocent, more blood. What is your message to humanity and to all these people? Go.
That wasn't the easiest question to digest.
He's not the easiest. No, he's not that direct.
No, yeah, there was a lot of words in there. So
what's your message to leave on a note? Usually I like to just have a person leave a message to people about what they do, and to give to humanity on either uplifting or a warning or something that people can take and put in their pocket, as my dad said, and to go home with while they think about it.
Well, probably like I said earlier, to you're not your kids' bosses or their friends, and always keep communication with them, because that's the only way you're going to find out if something bad's happening in their life, or if they're being groomed or whatever. Check their devices, but keep communication open.
For sure.
Well, thanks for doing this, Mike, and tell everyone where they can find you, where we can get those decals, where we can get all your merch, all that stuff, so we can help you out.
Yeah, well, our primary platform is Facebook. It's Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. Just look for this logo, the silhouette of Pennsylvania in a circle. We've got someone working on our Instagram. After all this time, we finally got things going on there. Again, as Pennsylvania Predator Hunters. We do have a YouTube, but I'm super lazy with that. There's like a few videos, but we don't even really mess with that too much. But yeah, if any questions, comments, or anything anyone needs, message our Facebook page. That's the easiest way to get in touch with us. I don't run the page, somebody else does, but they'll let me know immediately if anyone needs anything. You know what I mean?
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for doing this, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, dude.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Mike. See you.
See you guys later.